Hello learners, I am Dr. Munish Kumar Bhardwaj from School of Engineering and Technology. As you know, we were discussing about the safety aspects in underground works. In our last lecture, I introduced this topic to you, in which I discussed that what is underground works basically and what are some of the challenges. Today we will be discussing about the challenges in the underground works, then risks involved in this type of work, then safety initiatives taken at international level as well as at national level, then general safety provisions, then safety measures especially in excavation. So these things we will touch upon today. So first of all, let us understand what are the challenges in such type of works basically. First, if you understand this type of work, that underground works basically, they are in some sense having few challenges common with the normal works which are done at surface basically, but there are some challenges which are especially related to underground works basically. So what are these challenges? These challenges are that these workers here who are involved in construction in the underground works, they often work under, first of all, reduced light conditions. Because if you just understand that if a tunneling work is going on, then in these tunnels there will be less light available. If the cut is quite long basically, so work has progressed long, so it may be a total dark. So it is difficult to work under these conditions because of that psychological reasons, because under dark conditions a fear comes into the mind basically. So that way it is a challenging task to work under such conditions, under reduced light conditions. Second is that these spaces are dangerous because you are working underground, so there lot many risks are there. These spaces are dangerous because they are prone to the many risks basically. Third one is that exposure to contaminants. Contaminants means chemicals which are hazardous to the human health, to the health of the workers basically, like land contamination with the different type of chemicals which may be hazardous to the human health. Then there may be chances of fire and explosions. Where from this fire and explosion may come? Because during this work there may be a chances that they met with pockets of gases basically, and while working dealing with that mechanical tools, due to the friction there may be fire or explosion in that gas pockets basically. So that way these underground works are very risky, very challenging basically. Now what are the risks? The risks involved in these works are many. First of all, there may be a fall of the materials. Material means here the earth, rock or other materials, even the tools basically. So when we are cutting the earth, there may be loose pockets of the earth and the rocks. And these loose pocket of the earth or the rocks, they may dislodge from their position and they may fall onto the workers basically. So this is the first risk of the fall or the dislodgement of the earth or the rocks basically. Second is when you are working in deep cuts basically, so there may be fall of persons, means the workers may slip from a higher position, they may fall into that deeper cuts. There may be a fall of the materials or other objects. So when these materials and the other objects are falling on the workers who are working deep inside the cuts basically, so they may harm them, they may cause injury to them. Third is, if some shallow water table is met, then there may be a inrush of flow of water or other liquids into that cut or the tunnel. So if such type of water inflow or water inrush is there into the excavation or shaft or other type of earthworks which is underground basically, or tunnel basically, so there the workers may be get trapped there, and it may cause a very large risk to their life. Even in that case, there may be some injuries, there may be a threat to the life also. Then next thing is, when we are working, we need fresh air, oxygen basically, for our survival. But when we are working deep inside the earth or in tunnels basically, so there is a lack of ventilation and the aeration. We are not getting the air there, so breathing becomes very difficult there, which is a, you can say, the essential thing for survival. So that is a very challenging task. Then providing safe access or egress to reach a safe place in the event of any accident. What type of accident? If some fire is there, if there is an inflow of water, or then falling of or the dislodgement of some material basically. So in these cases, what will come in the mind first basically, that to rush to some safer place. So if if we are working in a deep cut basically, or in a tunnel, then it is very difficult to get the safe access because the space is limited there. If you are working on the surface, if some accident happens, we can rush to any safe place easily. But if you are working in a deep cut or in a tunnel, then we find that there is no space there to run away from such situations. So that is a very risky thing, very challenging thing. Then lack of safe access to reach a safe place in the event of fire or any other accident. Also, circulation of fluids or presence of pocket of gas. As I earlier also told you that because of this gas, there may be some fire or explosion. So these are the risks which are involved in the underground works basically, whether it is an open trench or it's a tunnel or any other type of the earthwork which is being done under the ground. Now then you will think that then how to work in such situations. So to make the working conditions safe, many initiatives have been taken which are preventive basically, that if we follow these measures, then we can reduce the risk to the workers basically. So these initiatives are taken at international level as well as at national level, means in our country also. And these initiatives are the, you can say, the safety guidelines, how to make the workplace safe. And if we follow these guidelines, certainly we can avoid the chances of accidents to a great extent basically. Like in United States, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, in short we call it OSHA, these were first adopted unique regulations for the underground construction in 1971. So you can see that way back around something more than 50 years plus basically, these guidelines were developed, and these guidelines basically, this OSHA regulates underground construction uh, by the companies as well as by the government agencies. Means the private companies as well as the government agencies. For both, they have given the guidelines. Means both type of these entities have to follow these guidelines to make the workplace safe when we are working under the ground basically. And underground construction is the most dangerous industries in the world, but now it is becoming safer, especially as the most dangerous jobs are being automated. Means here now the automatic machines are being used for generally these tunneling work or underground work basically. So the risk is being reduced. So for risky operations, now we are using the automated machines which are doing this excavation work basically. And along with these, wherever these human power is required to work under these conditions, there are safety norms, and if we follow these safety norms religiously, then certainly we can avoid lot many risks. If we talk about India, then many initiatives have been taken, and the guidelines are developed in the form of the IS codes basically. There are lot many IS codes are there to deal with the risk or the challenges in the underground works. What are these IS codes? Let us see. uh, Here is the list of the IS codes which are developed for safety in underground works. First you see the IS 456 1978. So the first number is the number of the code, and second is the year in which it was developed basically or revised. So IS 4756 1978, it gives safety code for tunneling work. Then IS 3764 1966, safety code for excavation work. So different for different type of work, different code is there to provide the guidelines for the safe working conditions. Then IS 4081 1986, it is the safety code for blasting and related dealing operations. Because during the tunneling or excavation, if we are doing in some rocky area, so there we need to blast basically to loosen the rocks so that we can easily then cut these rocks or remove the large boulders from there for making path for our tunnel or the excavation work basically. Then next IS code that we see here, the IS 4138 1977, safety code for working on compressed air, because we need at some places the compressed air also is needed for running that vibratory equipments and other things. So how to make that operation also safe, for that purpose especially there is one code developed for that purpose. The next code is IS 7293. It is a safety code for working with construction machinery, because different type of machineries are used for excavation and tunneling, and for each machinery there are some associated risk and the hazards basically. So just to avoid any risk or the accident, for different machineries basically there are guidelines that how to use those machineries safely. So for that purpose this code is developed, in which we get the guidelines to deal with these construction machinery safely. Now we move to another code which is IS 5878 1970. There are many parts of this code, and in general the code is that codes of practices relating to tunneling and underground excavations. Part 1 of this code is related with the precision survey and setting out. Then part 2, section 1, deals with the drilling and blasting for underground excavation for tunnels in rocks. Then section 2 of part 2 of the same code deals with the ventilation, lighting, mucking, and dewatering for underground excavation in rocks. Because during the tunneling, there may be the water inflush or water ingress, as I told you earlier, or some water table may be there. So we have to dewater. We have to remove water from that place basically, so that we can make a progress in our excavation work. So such type of guidelines are there in this code. Then there one code is there, one act is there, are different acts also, acts and rules also in addition to these codes. One is Indian Explosive Act 1988, because when we are using these explosives for removing the rocks basically, so there we need to do that work safely also. So there is one act related to these using the explosives. Then there are, in addition to this act, there are rules also, Indian explosive rules also, which were developed in the 1983. So these all are the, you can say, guidelines which makes our underground work or excavation work or tunneling work basically safer. If we use these guidelines, if we follow these guidelines, certainly we can reduce the risk and the hazards to the workers who are working there. So these are the codes basically. In addition to these codes basically, Indian Railways, because when Indian Railways is making new lines, railway lines basically, they met with the different conditions, and when they are when they met with some hills or you can say that plateau, so they need to make the tunnels basically. So they have developed their own safety guidelines. And this you see here on the screen that this Ministry of Railway has developed the guidelines for safety in tunnels during construction. And this report number is RDSO 2011 G0016, which was published in June 2012. So you can refer these this document also basically for safe working in the tunnels. So which is developed by the railways. Now we move to general safety provisions. What are the provisions available which, if we follow, then make our work risk-free and safer? So these are, we are calling them as a general safety provisions. What are these safety provisions? We will see one by one. First is that when we are working underground basically, so if you just recall that what are the challenges there? That fall of the material, fall of the earth or the rocks basically. So to avoid such conditions, that when we are making a cut basically, so the earth is not collapsing, our cut is not failing basically, and that material is not collapsing onto the workers basically, to avoid that. Because what happens that when we are making a deep cut, so depending upon the type of soil basically and the type of cut, if you are making a straight cut or a sloping cut basically, so depending upon that, if the depth of cut is more basically, so what happens that its edges sometimes fail and fell into that cut basically over the workers who are working, and workers may get injured, or they may be buried even if the deep cut is there and a large amount of earth is falling on them basically. So to make such type of cuts safe, what we do that, if we provide shoring, sheeting, putting wire mesh, rock anchoring just to avoid that rock falling. So these provisions, they will do, they guard against the danger to workers from a fall or dislodgement of the earth, rock or the other materials. So to avoid that falling of material, we can provide the shoring, sheeting, we can put the wire mesh there, or we can anchor the rocks. So this is one method of avoiding the fall of material into the cut basically. Then to guard workmen, what we can do, that performing these critical activities against the hazard arising from the fall of the persons, materials or objects, or inrush of water into the excavation, shaft, earthwork or groundwork or the tunnel, what we can do, that we have to make provisions, that we have to safeguard our workers. How we can do that? By providing, as I told you, that shoring and sheeting that can avoid the falling of the material. Another thing is that, as I told you, that the one challenging thing was that problem of ventilation and aeration. So we should make arrangement for the proper ventilation and the aeration, so that workers who are working there, they can get the fresh air to breathe. Otherwise, there will be a big problem there for the workers. So for that, we can also, along with this, we have to make arrangement that if some fumes or some gases are there, so just to remove those gases, we have to make provisions for that also. So such type of things we have to make to provide proper ventilation and the aeration to the workers there. Next is that before starting our work, then proper investigation of the site has to be done. What are the risks associated with that particular site? What type of material is there, whether loose material is there, whether loose earth is there. So we have to make proper arrangement for there. Whether some gas is present there, whether land contamination is there. So whether some gas pockets are there. So we have to make proper investigation before actual starting of the work. So if we do that, we can avoid any accident. Then this work when we are doing there, then there should be a proper inspection by a competent person who inspect that on day-to-day basis, that whether the proper safety measures are there. If some lacuna is there, then how to fix that, to provide instruction to the concerned persons there. So just to see that what are the working conditions, what is the condition of the site, all these things should be inspected by a competent person. And if instructions are needed to be given to the concerned supervisors or the persons who are responsible for getting that work done, so proper instructions have to be given to them to make the place safe, workplace safe basically. So this is to be done at a regular basis, this inspection, because this is a, you can say, preventive thing basically. If we are doing the proper inspection, that what is going on there, what type of site is there, what safety precautions are being taken by the workers. So all these things have to be inspected from time to time basically, routinely basically, and by doing that we can avoid many accidents. Then inspection for safety gears and health of workers. This is also very important, because if some workers who are not fit for doing such type of work, if they are working, then certainly some accidents is bound to happen there. So proper health checkup of the workers should be done at the site before they go to that particular work. Second thing is that even those workers who are healthy, they should wear the safety gears. Safety gears means that personal protective equipments, PPE basically. that helmet, that gloves, then boots, then these belts. So such type of all these are safety gears they must wear. So one has to check whether that safety gears have been provided to the workers or not. If they have been provided, whether the workers are wearing these safety gears or not, because there is a tendency in the workers that they are not they easily do not wear these safety gears. So they should be told that what are the problems if they are not wearing these safety gears, and they should be properly, you can say, acquainted that what are the benefits of these wearing these safety gears. So that inspection of the safety gears and health workers is also needed. Then next thing is uh, a supervision by a competent person has to be constantly there at the workplace to look that what are the working conditions, whether the proper safety measures have been taken, proper shoring is there or not, whether this shoring is adequately strong or not. So many things have to be supervised continuously, basically, uh, because in these conditions, as you know that these working conditions are very challenging, and in these conditions sometimes things happen which are, you can say, unpredictable. So but these unpredictable things also can be managed or better, you can say, dealt if proper supervision is there, basically continuous supervision is there. So these are some of the general provisions which we follow. If we follow, then certainly we can make our workplace in these conditions safe. Now the question rises that who is the competent person who who can supervise or inspect that. So a competent person is the one who is capable of identifying the existing and the predictable workplace hazards, who is authorized to take corrective actions to eliminate them. Means identify the hazards and also can do the corrective actions to eliminate these hazards. So that authorized person is the competent person. So anybody, any worker or any person cannot be that do that work, basically. So he is a trained person, he is a knowledgeable person who knows that what type of risks are involved, what type of challenges are there in such type of the work. So uh, we discussed about that, what are the challenges, what are the uh, initiatives taken at the international and the national level, then what are the general provisions, basically, and who is the competent person to inspect or the supervise these workplaces. So if we do all these things, then certainly we can make our underground works safe for the workers. So with this, I hope that you will go through that course material which is with you, and in the next lecture we will discuss further on this topic. So thank you.
We wear clothes on a daily basis. But have we ever wondered, where do our clothes come from? Who makes our clothing? And who are the people and the process